All right, hey, we're at the top of the hour, so as we always do, why don't we get started with our show? So with that, I'll open things up. Welcome, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Welcome to What Keeps You Up at Night? Entrepreneurship during challenging times. This is episode 30. We actually made it to 30, and we're going to make it to 100. We're going to keep going. Like these conversations keep getting bigger, better, more diverse as we go here. And some people got back to us that both Reza and Maryam and I are getting a little better doing this. So we take that as a compliment. So thank you. And we'll do our best to keep evolving the show and refining it as we go. So if you don't know me, my name is Colin Weston. I am the community leader for Startup Vancouver, which is one of over 40 chapters of Startup Canada across the country. And Startup Canada is the voice for the over 3.5 million entrepreneurs across the country. So I am quickly going to share my screen here. Reza's going to be timing me here to see if I'm getting any better at this at all. The jury is still out if that actually is the case or not here. Oh, I think I got it first click this time.
4 seconds.
That's a new record, personal best, as compared to last week, which is an absolute schmozzle. I think it took me 4 minutes to actually get it up on screen. So there, look at me, progress. 30 times into it, you all can't be bad. So on today's show, we have a very diverse group of guests here. So we have Niamey Van Haltrin, who is the CEO and founder of Luna VR. I've known Naomi for a couple of years now. She was one of our speakers for the very first Van Startup Stories celebrating women entrepreneurs we did, gosh, over a year and a half ago. Now back in the day when we could actually meet in a public place at a venue together and have a conversation. So she's with us today, so really looking forward to the update on Luna VR of what they've been doing over the last year. Also have the pleasure of having Kim Yuen, who is a business advisor for Women's Enterprise Center of BC, and then also Paul Koros, who is the board chair for what we call it both Vancouver Enterprise Forum, but apparently now we're going just with Vancouver Entrepreneurs Forum is what we're doing. And of course, I have my fabulous co-hosts every single week, Maryam and Reza, joining me here today. And to get us started, we have a segment that we call, How Are You Hanging In There? So just putting it out there to everybody, hopefully after some turkey, if you're vegetarian or vegan, or if you've had some tofurkey, that the tryptophan is worn off and you're not so sleepy anymore and your energy level is getting back up. But we truly hope that you're all staying engaged and active and positive out there, because with the COVID lockdown or things getting tighter with our bubbles here again, that we're going to be this way for a few months. But we want everybody to stay safe but also to stay engaged. And we just do our small part the best that we can by bringing you this weekly show to not only inform and educate and inspire you, but hopefully have a little bit of fun here and a little bit of levity. And that's really what we look to accomplish with what we do here. So with Startup Vancouver, best way to connect with us is through social media. We're very active on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Also, our LinkedIn community page there too, so you can get all of our latest events and the ones that we support locally, regionally, provincially, and across the country. And we also have our YouTube channel where we have the recordings for every single one of our What Keeps You Up at Night shows on there. And after we record this one, we'll be posting this one in a couple of days. So if you liked it so much, you thought it was so nice, you had to watch it twice, there's where you go for that. So please go back and see some of the other amazing conversations with the guests that we've had on. And while you're there, please subscribe to our channel, because the more subscribers we get, the more content we can produce and the more value we add for you. So I've had a lot of people asking me lately, even though a lot of people here in Vancouver and elsewhere know what Startup Vancouver does and why we do it. But our core values are really based on two pillars. And the first one is that we collaborate rather than compete. And we've done this for years, the 3 years that we've existed, and we continue to do that. And today is no exception. And having Kim on from Women's Enterprise Center of BC, and also having Paul on from VEF. These are groups that we're not looking to do the same thing that they do or to take away from their community. We want to grow and connect and add and amplify each other's efforts here. And once again, having this show as a platform for that is something that we're very proud of. And the other core value that we have is to make entrepreneurship welcoming and inviting for everyone. So even before diversity and inclusion was a thing a few years ago, we just did that. It was kind of built into what we do. And this is manifested through not only this show, but also the other event platform we have, which is Can Startup Stories, which is now has national reach. And the next one we're having on October 21st is celebrating clean tech entrepreneurs. So this is a TEDx style interactive speaking event that that people just tell their story however they want to tell it. And of course, their entrepreneurial journey and what they've created is just woven right into the narrative. And these have been very impactful. And please join us for free for the next one. I'll include the link for that in the in chat here for you today. As always, we want to make this an interactive show. So if you're joining us on Zoom or if you're also joining us on Facebook Live, please put any questions you have or comments that you have also in chat here on Zoom or in comments on Facebook, and we're happy to read them between the conversations we have with our guests here today. We're very proud to have as our charity partner Jack.org, and Jack.org is a national Canadian advocacy group for mental health awareness for kids and for youth. And this is a grassroots organization where the young people are the advocates and the ambassadors for mental health awareness. So we've managed to raise over $500 so far for them, and that's almost to $600 now. Today we did not get any donations, which is okay. So I'm not going to do my usual musical shout out. I've got another little party trick that I do, and that's connected to what I will personally donate here, depending on how well I do with that. So hang in there for the end, the cliffhanger, to see what the heck it is that I'm going to do. So my co-hosts, as always, Maryam Mobini, who is the CEO of To Resonate, and Reza V, who is the founder of OVU. Such good friends of mine now. I miss them, seeing them in person. It's been over 7 months, even though I see them every single week. It's like I see you, but don't see you. And I can't wait to see you again in public, in person, I should say. So very quickly here, it's going to go backwards the way it's going to work. So I'm going to end the show with Paul Koros, with the chat there with Paul. In the middle, Reza's going to be talking to Naomi about all the things she's doing with Luna VR. And to start us off today, we do have Maryam, who is going to be talking to Kim and all the good things that Women's Enterprise Center is doing, and also how she's doing personally. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing the screen, and I am going to hand it over to Maryam to start out the show with a conversation with Kim.
Thanks so much, Colin. Hi, Kim. I am so grateful to have you here, and just wanted to do it, like check in to see how you've been doing for the past 8 months with everything going on, and you know, with your work and personal life, what has been keeping you up at night?
Well, I actually joined Women's Enterprise Center just before COVID occurred. So I think it was beginning of March when I joined, and then we had a lockdown. So I was at home since. I've been fortunate enough to have my husband step up. He has his own business. He has well, we, I guess, have a small boutique real estate business where he does construction. And yeah, and so his clients, you know, put a lot of the projects on pause. Some were canceled, and yeah, so he was able to collect CERB, and he managed the house. he homeschooled the kids. You know, took on a lot of responsibility, which was great, and I've been able to focus on my new role at Women's Enterprise and helping the women navigate through all the you know, options available to them. And yeah, it's nice that things are now a little better, and the conversations have been shifted, and getting a lot of women call about opening new businesses. So it's great to see that entrepreneurial spirit alive and well.
Yeah, I was going through your site, and I see there, your organization, Women's Enterprise Center, there's so much that you guys are offering, and I'm wondering, did you have a lot of people who approached you during the pandemic, or are you saying that you're getting more attraction right now? And what are people mainly interested in when they come to you?
Yeah. Well, both. I think during the beginning of the pandemic, a lot of people were calling and just trying to get some clarity around all of the government announcements and all the changes. And so, keeping abreast of that was a challenge as well, because things just kept changing every single day. And so, but at the same time, it made me appreciate being Canadian and all the support that the government has provided with small businesses and working individuals with. So yeah, so during that time, there's a lot of questions around COVID, and I think a lot of owners were just, they couldn't sleep at night over the declining sales and how they were going to at the time survive, I guess, the next few months. And then it's kind of evolving now, and people have had to pivot their business, and a lot of them are going online and doing things that perhaps in the back of their minds they had planned to do, especially with online courses and whatnot. But now they're actually it's necessary for them to do. So so those.
Do you mind walking me through, so for example, some of the programs that you have that you're supporting entrepreneurs right now, and what does that look like? If you could just walk me through, if like someone just comes to you and they're having a hard time like financially with their business, and they're just like, it's at the beginning they're starting off, and what are some of the things that education wise, and also if there are any loans or anything that you're offering, you could share with the entrepreneurs, that would be really helpful.
Yeah, of course. So we have several pillars. We're a nonprofit that's funded by the federal government. So our services are either low cost or at no cost. One of those pillars is the training, and so we hold probably weekly training on different topics where we invite experts in and so on as well. And so they're webinars now, all online. They were in person, but now they're all online, and they're kind of related to what's relevant to entrepreneurs today. So check out our website for those. We also have a loans pillar where we have our regular business loans, but we are also administering the Regional Recovery and Relief Fund for women entrepreneurs. And so we've been, busy trying to get those loans out. They're similar to the SEBA loan in terms of the repayment parameters, but they're strictly for women-owned or majority women-owned businesses. So that's kind of like our financing end. We have our business advisory, where women can call and book an appointment with a business advisor and discuss their individual business needs or any questions they have. And then we have our mentoring pillar, and we open those up a couple times a year, and and we try to match up the mentors we have with women who can really benefit from their mentorship.
Yeah, thanks. And I'm wondering if you could tell me a little bit about the Vancity Unity Women Entrepreneurs Program. I believe that's a new program that you launched. Are there new programs that came out as a result of COVID as well?
Well, that program, I believe, is on hold. I think Vancity is just, I guess, looking at how to perhaps tweak the program, but it's essentially Vancity's program, and we're just providing some support for them. So the women who applied or are within that program have access to a business advisor. They have access to the mentorship program and so on. It's just kind of fast-tracked, I guess.
Got it.
Yeah. So there should be news coming up on that Unity program.
Thank you. And I'm just going to open it up to my co-hosts and our speakers and, to see if there are any questions in the chat or you have any questions that you would like to ask.
I'll mute myself here. I'm just going through chat. We don't have any questions on there quite yet, but Kim, I'd love to have you expand upon some of the success stories that you've had, especially during these kind of tumultuous times here. Could you cite any examples of women entrepreneurs, founders over the last few months that you're very proud of, that you're able, I'm sure you're proud of them all, of course, but maybe one or two examples of kind of inspiring stories of COVID success stories, people that have women that have managed to kind of retarget or recalibrate their businesses during these times.
Yeah, we have a lot of women who have pivoted, as I mentioned. We've had a yoga studio who has went, kind of online and now has opened up her business to a international audience, and she's had success with that. We've had, oh, sorry, my kids are homesick today. Oh, one second, sorry about that.
Don't apologize. See, that's real life. That's what we love. We love that. We love more kids, the better. That's all good. That's real life right there. So no need to apologize for that.
Sorry, he just wanted to share that he learned his birthday was on International Root Beer Day.
Amazing.
Yes. So yeah, good. That's one of the challenges is just working from home and, with the children and just, I guess navigating through the benefits. Our regional recovery and relief loan that we're administering, we have so many women applying for that because they didn't necessarily qualify for SEBA. So it's great to be able to help them through the pandemic and really help them cover their non-deferrable business expenses while they can focus on pivoting their business or use that revenue to reinvest in their business. So that's been very gratifying as well. It's just really helping those women who need that support. And yeah, and then there's some women who can see opportunity in this pandemic. I just had a call with one where she wants to start a virtual assistant business, but she's going to be focusing on client relations and employee relations, and especially now with people who are working from home. They may not necessarily think about their clients or their suppliers and their employees during the upcoming holiday season. So she wants to help businesses really reach out to those key stakeholders and find ways to connect and make them feel valued in light of the fact that there's not going to be a Christmas party or gift baskets and whatnot. So yeah, so that's exciting to see women find opportunities during these times.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for that. Reza, do you see any questions in chat here, or you want to jump in? Do you have any questions or things you're interested to add here to Kim?
I don't see any question in the chat, and I feel like you guys covered it very well, especially Maryam with the questions. I don't have any questions yet.
I have one last question, and I'm wondering, what are you looking forward to for the remaining of the year, and would like to achieve with would like to achieve with Women's Enterprise Center? If there are anything that you're excited about that you're going to be enrolling, any news that you have for entrepreneurs would be really great to hear.
Mm-hmm. Well, our programs are still running. So if women want to open a business and need financing, our business loans are still available. I think the remainder of the year, we're going to be focusing specifically on, of course, the regional relief loan. We would certainly want to get that out to women who need that. Yeah, just preparing for I guess the upcoming new year. So yeah, I'm excited about doing some just helping women through business planning. I think it's a great time to look at that, and there are some great resources out there that would really any entrepreneur has access to, and that I encourage people to take advantage of. And it's great to see all these organizations as well, like helping in any way, like Small Business BC and
Mhm.
their grant announcement. The Burnaby Board of Trade has a fantastic digital assistance program where students help you with, either creating a year-long social media plan or, getting your business online. So there's
That's
so
really
many
great.
different
I didn't know
resources.
about that.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And yeah, and then there are some grants that have been opening up for, businesses to hire students
Mhm.
to help with perhaps their digital media, their social media. And it's great because, students know the most about social media. They're on it all the time. So it's great
That's
that,
really
yeah, so
really
it's,
helpful. And actually, if you don't mind sharing some of those links with our
yeah,
audience in
I
the
will do
chat,
that.
that would be lovely. Thank you so much.
Yeah, that would be great. We've been busy putting some in as we go here. But just to finish up here, because we always like to give our guests the opportunity to promote themselves a little bit. And I'm just looking at my other screen here at your website. I believe in 2 days from now, on October 15th, you've got your next webinar. Perhaps you can tell our viewers out there what the theme for that one is.
To be honest, I am not quite sure.
Oh, I stumped
Because
you.
there's
Okay.
so many different
Well,
things, but there
I
is
know.
one that's coming up that I know about, and I've actually been referring clients to, and that's the focused marketing workshop. And that one really helps you with just focusing on your target market, identifying that target market, and really helping to just define your pitch. So I think that's an upcoming one. I think it'll be very
Perfect.
popular. So
So
I'll send a link to that as well.
awesome. Lots of tools and resources. Well, since I already brought it up and I've got it right here, so it's easy. I'm just reading it now. So so at 10 a.m. Pacific time on Thursday, October 15th, your webinar will be Build Back with Trust with Carla Laird from the Better Business Bureau of Vancouver. And she's very quickly, what is the WE Cafe? That sounds very interesting.
Oh, that is essentially our, I guess I would say, skills training platform. So it's a kind of like a cafe format where people just are coming to have casual conversations and just learn from the speakers and ask any questions they may have. And yeah, this is I guess an educational forum.
Perfect, perfect. Love it. So, well, the next guest is well, first I want to thank both Maryam and Kim for all of your insights there. That was, yeah, that was really, really strong and really great. So thank you for providing us an update and more information on what Women's Enterprise Center of BC does and why you do it, and how women can connect with you in order to either start or further their entrepreneurial journey. And speaking about women founders and entrepreneurial journeys, a nice little segue with our next guest, which is Niamey Van Haltrin, who, as I mentioned, is the founder and CEO of Luna VR. And I'm going to hand it over to Reza for this really, what's going to be a great conversation here.
Hi everyone, great to have you guys on Tuesday again. I can't believe it's 30th episode. This is awesome. Thank you, Naomi, for joining us. This is very exciting because I'm personally very excited about VR and AR, and to some extent, even my business is classified as AR. The NFC and QR is part of the AR classification. And you guys are doing phenomenal things with healthcare, which is even double trending. VR is trending, healthcare and startup is trending. You guys are riding the wave right to the point. Tell us how you got into it, because you have a background in healthcare and all of a sudden tech startup. How did that happen?
Yeah, hi everyone. So I'm a registered nurse by trade. I worked in labor and delivery in high-risk pregnancies for about 5 years. And then one day woke up and half my mouth wouldn't move, and was diagnosed with MS. I also have type 1 diabetes already, so I am an absolute human pincushion. I take so many needles, it's not funny. So with the MS, I couldn't do labor and delivery anymore, but I decided to do vaccines full time. And so in labor and delivery, you have incredible women who, I mean, women in my mind are just above and beyond because of what moms are just like number one, you know. And but when I started doing vaccines, I was like, oh my gosh, men are such big babies. Like every man that came in was like sweating and turning purple, and like I was like, hey, just chill, like you're gonna faint, and when people faint we have to shut down the clinics. It's like a big deal, and you're not in hospital, like I do it privately. So I was like, oh no. And so I kept distracting people and asking, like I'd say, oh, like do you have kids? And then if people start talking about their kids, they kind of light up, and then you can like get a jab in kind of quickly. But everyone, I kept saying, like, what is your, like, where did this come from? And everyone had the exact same story. They either went to a doctor's appointment all excited as like a 4-year-old and was being hugged by their mom, and then a doctor came out of nowhere and stabbed them, and like forevermore it's triggered this psychological trauma for needles. Or it was, I don't even know if they do this the same, like I know they don't do this the same, but remember school vaccines, and you had to sit on that terrible wooden bench outside the nurse's office and like watch a child go in and scream and come out crying, and then they'd say, and you're next, So my husband is a victim of that, and he actually seizures when he gets really freaked out by needles. He's on the other spectrum of being ridiculous about needles. So I did not create this for him. I literally came home from a long shift. He'd won a VR headset, and he was like, try it. And I was like, oh, I'm tired, I don't want to. And he's like, just try it, it's really cool. And so I put it on, and I was like in a beach, and there was like an alien beside me. And like the first thing I noticed is, after a long day on your feet, how like your shoulders hurt, like right away I didn't feel any pain in my shoulders. And I was like, whoa, that's cool. It's a cool thing. And so yeah.
Wow. So a combination of your background and your husband's giving you a VR video game, and all of a sudden this is born. This is very cool.
Yeah.
Have you guys done this on a public healthcare institution, like a hospital, for example? Have they used Luna as well?
Yeah, so you get tons of red tape. When I first started this, again, I'm a nurse. I'm not a business person. That's been the hardest thing about this whole thing. And some people are like, red tape. And I was like, what's red tape? I don't know what you mean. And so then red tape is like people just being like, nope, there's 10,000 reasons you can't do this. So I actually went into BC's vaccine clinic because I spoke at Interface Health Summit, and this woman, she's actually I won't name her. She's a CEO of a really cool company, and she her daughter's needle phobic and was 2 years late on her vaccines. So she was like, why don't you come with me to the clinic and help me out? And so I thought she'd give like the clinic a heads up I was coming, but like she didn't. So nurse to nurse, I'm like walking in their zone, and I was like, I'm really sorry, like this kid doesn't know what's about to happen. And like, we don't trick kids into it. So I was really terrified. And anyway, it went so well. Like this kid had attacked healthcare workers.
Nice.
And she sat there. I mean, she cried for 2 seconds, but that was it. So that was we were just getting into the public domain, and then COVID hit, and you know what happened.
And are you guys interested to be part of, hospitals and ERs in hospital? The reason I'm asking is because my very good friend, he was the head of ER in PSARC Hospital in White Rock.
Yeah.
And he got the program off the ground. He got VR headsets for kids at the ER for stitches and whatnot.
Yeah.
He got Microsoft HoloLens behind him. He got some budget from the government. And it was about to be, the test lab for VR before they decide whether to roll it out to other hospitals.
Yeah.
And it got shut down because of COVID. Like all of a sudden it went down to the ground, but he's still active in that space. I've got to connect you to, so maybe Luna would be the Canadian company to take the reign.
Yeah, we so the head of the VR pain lab at BC Children's Hospital, his name is Rand Goldman, and he's one of the nicest doctors I've ever met in my life. Yeah. Nice. So we went and saw him, and I just was like, hey, what do you think of this? And he was like blown away. He thought it was great.
Nice.
One of the key things we wanted to do, which is what like Maryam was saying before, she studied pain and with kids, and so there's a big difference between chronic pain and acute pain, and VR is like insanely helpful for acute pain, and it has shown that in like 5 areas of your brain it reduces it by 50%. So like great non-medical tool that I think we should all be using. So
you mentioned something I want to dig deeper. You said that you don't have the business background. What was that like? What was it like now you have to learn it. There is no other choice. It's not like a university course that you can just, pass it and then you could say goodbye. You have to now learn how to become an entrepreneur, how to negotiate, how to be in board meetings, all that stuff. Yeah. What was that like?
So the start of it, when you begin entrepreneurship, is such a high that I was like, I don't care what anybody says, like, blah, 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 I'm such a boss. And then like you have this sudden realization of like, oh my God, I have no idea what I'm doing. And so I meet mentors and I like ask people questions all the time. I think that's the best way you can gain insight. But it was driving me nuts because in nursing, it's like you have protocols. So if someone comes in with this blood pressure and this symptom, you do this. And I was like, I don't understand how like entrepreneurs just like, where's the book on like what you do? And they'd be like, okay, well just read these 15 books. And I was like, when am I reading these 15 books? When you're starting a company? So it's been a roller coaster and a half. I liked this idea of what keeps you up at night because like, you know, you go through, there's big waves of like downness that you get with starting a company that no one told me about. And I kept trying to say to people, like, do you get down? And then they're like, oh yeah, it's founder's depression. It's like totally normal. And I was like, it's like, again, no idea this is a thing. And so it's been a roller coaster, but a good one. I think I have to remember why I'm doing it. The minute I see a kid happy and I remember like I'm literally a nurse who's trying to help people have better needle experiences, then I'm fine. I like, you know, I believe in everything I'm doing and it's no problem. But when people are like, you need to talk to this VC, you need to go for this and this and this, and you should be blah, 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 then I'm like, that's not, you know.
But isn't that the beauty of it, that you don't have a book to follow? You can literally make the book for yourself. You can literally change the rules, do whatever you'd like, get out of that box and rewrite the way business is supposed to do. I feel like every VC that tells you how to do it that they've done a business successfully in 2000 and 2010, they don't know what it's like to do a business from ground up in 2020 or 2030 or 2040. You can literally go and do it in a different way. And as long as it makes sense and it's customer centric, every piece comes together. It's the beauty of it. Tell us about COVID. How did that affect you mentally, you as an entrepreneur, and your business? What did you do about it?
Mentally first, I have MS, like I said, so I've had a really bad year. So in January, I all of a sudden lost the ability to walk. So I had to go for 5 plasma transfusions, get all the plasma drained from my body. And then I was severely immunocompromised. So with that, you know, mentally and sort of physically, personally, I was really scared. You know, the start of COVID, how like everyone who's immunocompromised or your parents, you know, or your little kids, you were terrified. So I was pretty scared. And that made, you know, stopping demos, like my best way, the number one stopping getting VR in people's hands is people just not having opportunity to try it. You know, most people have never tried VR. Everyone in VR thinks everyone knows about it, but they don't. And so not being able to just go to a clinic and show them and say, use this for free, like I'm literally a nurse just trying to help, was a bit of a shocker. I then had 2 grandparents die. So I literally got back from England. I'm still in quarantine in Whistler. I get off quarantine on Friday. I went to England to help. One of my grandparents die at home. One died of COVID. The other one didn't.
Sorry to hear about that.
Yeah. So it's been like a rough year. And, you know, the one cool thing about entrepreneurship that is beautiful is like I've built a community around me of entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs are very special people. They're ridiculously resilient. They're smart, they're kind and caring. And so, you know, I'm not just at like a typical job where I'm like trying to get time off. You know, I went to England and helped my family, but I still was doing this at the same time. And I've had people step in and from all directions to help. And so, you know, I feel very, very lucky for my life and what I have. COVID slows down, you know, we had already done medical grade like face coverings. So you could clean those with Virox, which is basically a really intense thing that kills off viruses. So all my background of nursing had kind of already set us up for a company because I'm already really anal about hand washing and cleaning everything. You know, every single thing we touch as a nurse, we clean it 10 times. So that stuff didn't really change anything. It's just people slow down with their reception to trying new things right now. You can't just send someone a VR headset because it might be COVID.
Now, you touched on community. So I could imagine, going from a nursing background to an entrepreneurial background, your circle of friends, your circle of community has shifted quite a bit. From, having people who are in a different world, they're working 9 to 5, or they're a nurse, or you met at high school or university, to now surrounding yourself with people who understand what you're going through, because chances are those people may not understand exactly what it's like for you to answer a call 1 a.m. or going through different things middle of the night. How did you shift from that? Are you happy with the new community? How are you balancing the two?
The number one thing I did was I started being a part of different groups. So I met Colin literally when I was in the baby stage of this idea. I started going to Startup Vancouver. I was a part of Launch Academy. And through Launch Academy, I'm a part of this group called Masterminds. So there's 5 of us that meet every 2 weeks. All different entrepreneurs, all different stages of companies, bigwigs, not bigwigs, whatever. And we have been so raw and honest with each other. Actually, we were debating, like we didn't put this into a book because it's been crazy. And before, with the nursing community, or when you work in an office, you have those people you see every day and you're all doing the same goal. As an entrepreneur, you can often feel very alone at times, and like you're the only person who knows what VR vaccines are. And so having a group that is dedicated to supporting each other, we do buddy calls every week. So you're assigned to someone, they call for an hour, we hang out. Sometimes I'm like literally, when I was in England, my grandpa died, I called them and they're like, "What'd you do?" And I was like, I literally was in the middle of Northwest England, and I went into a field and I screamed at a cow, and all the cows come up running, and I was telling them this, and I was kind of laughing, just how crazy this, it's such a small town that this Canadian girl is standing in a field screaming at cows, because I was just like, what is happening in the world? And so, they just thought it was hilarious, and we laughed it off, and it was just great.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing. And the reason I brought it up is because I went through that too. I met Colin in the start of Vancouver, and throughout all these events I went to, I met my co-host of another podcast. And even though I have friends of a lifetime and we grew up together, we went to school together, I quickly felt closer to the new people I met just because they understood what I'm going through, and their advice and their empathy towards, entrepreneurship, where, sometimes your old friends may not have it there. Thank you for sharing. I'm going to slowly open it up to our audience, our co-host, and everybody else, if you want to jump in.
I know that Maryam has a couple questions. I just wanted to quickly say something. Yes, that I had the pleasure of meeting Naomi at one of these kind of almost a random type of collision, where with my podcast in golf entrepreneurship, I was very interested in how VR could affect sports and golf in the future. So I met our mutual friend now, Nogu Taskaren, who is one of the principals and founders of Istanbul Studios and the VR they do there. And the day I went to record that, you just happened to be there because you had just met him. I don't know how you managed to meet him, but and working out a deal where they really are creating the VR technology engine for you, because you're not a VR coder. That's not your world. You knew as much about that back then as I do, which is basically fit it all into a thimble. So I just love this. I know myself and Naomi, Reza, and also Maryam, the fact that you just put yourself out there, and you just never know where along this journey things will go. And there's all these wonderful serendipitous things that happen along the way. That's what all the entrepreneurs out there, we just keep encouraging you just to put yourself out there, have trust in yourself, have trust in others, and magical things happen, and they do. So with that, Maryam, I know you had a couple of questions, so a couple of minutes we still have here with Naomi. Yeah. Why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, I'm just really curious to know how involved you've been with the designing of this immersive environment, and what the design choices that you've made to have a cold environment versus a hot environment. And also, if you could elaborate a little bit about the sound design as well, what are the kids are hearing, and are those sounds intentional for pain reduction? So if you could elaborate on that, would be great.
Yeah, so I started with the concept of number one, the more input you have, the more you're distracted. We all know this. It's when like you stub your toe, you're supposed to stamp on your other toe. It's that same concept. But the number one thing I wanted to do was I wanted kids to feel empowered. So I didn't want their first vaccine to be this negative, terrible, doctors are scary. I wanted it to be like they went on a really cool adventure. They could get superhero powers and like help do something. It's actually called helping save their community, which is now that everyone finally understands what herd immunity is with COVID. This is why we do vaccines. It's the most important thing. So I wanted, whenever, the worst thing that could happen would be for a nurse or a healthcare professional to touch a child or do a vaccine and the kid jumps away. I mean, kids do that all the time anyway, but we really didn't want them to move. So I first created, I was like, I wanted to follow the normal nursing standard vaccine procedure, which is 90 seconds. So I also wanted it to be long enough that kids were engaged, and I wanted the cold and hot elements. So the cold was because when we first do an alcohol swab, the smell triggers people right away, and the cold sensation of alcohol is what kids often remember as like the terrible thing right before, you know, the vaccine.
So smart. So, yeah.
They're in this like winter wonderland. There's a character and her dog it's actually a dog we rescued from Mexico. I thought, you know, two inputs could be cool. And so she says like they're getting superhero powers and they're going to help save the village from some snow monsters. So you can see these snow monsters walking towards the village in the background. I do really careful that they weren't too scary, that they weren't walking towards the kids. You know, the kids aren't going to put it on and start screaming bloody murder because that would not help our cause. And so when the alcohol swab is done is when a snowflake is put onto their arm. And so this first triggers the brain to think, okay, and she says right after the character, do you feel how cold that is? And kids always are like, yes. And actually elderly always answer too. It's really cute. And so that is, so their brain's like, okay, they touched me and something happened. It was cold. So with the needle, before they give it to them, they say, you're going to get superhero powers. You're getting this moon rock. And I know it's hot, but I know it's hot, but you're brave and you can handle it. And that way, the minute a needle goes in, nobody feels the needle go in. So 10 years ago, we were pretty evil with the size of needles we use, but now it's like, they're so fine. We've got such good technique. You don't feel the needle going, you feel the burning of the vaccine. So the minute the burning happens is right when their superhero powers start coming from their own body. So they're already focused on, oh my gosh, their magical powers are starting, the snow monsters start melting away, and the whole scene changes. So that needle phobic child, you know, she was like, and then we're like, I was like, look at the snow monsters, look at the snow monsters. And then that was it. No more crying. She's focused. I saved the village, blah, blah, blah. We have stickers. It's all exciting. And so that's kind of how we came up. I just thought that was cool.
Nice.
That's really cool. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And is there also a music as well playing in the background?
So there's like yeah, you're right. There's like a noise that comes with the powers when they come. So that's another input into your brain. Also, like when the snow monsters are walking, you can hear their feet crunching along in the snow, like this way. So, you know, some kids just put it on and just, you're like, look up, look around, like, look, you know, they just sit there like staring because they're so in awe. But
yeah, thank you so much.
I have a quick question on that. Do parents interact with them by any chance?
Yeah, so one thing we did is, so family-centered care is huge in all of healthcare. So a mom comes in to give her 5-year-old a needle. Well, she's bouncing a 3-year-old on her hip, you know, they should be involved. So it's controlled by a tablet, which was actually the hardest thing to build. So the tablet is a big screen that actually shows what they're seeing in VR, and it tells the nurse when to do the alcohol swab and the needle, but once you've done it once, you really don't need to see it. I feel bad for nurses because it's kind of annoying. I'm like, you're like, I'm here. I was like, eesh. I'm sorry I put this on you, but it's great because then the family and kids can see. So like after, a lot of kids are like, did you see what I did? And then other kids want to try it. And the goal would be that like we can keep doing adventures. So every needle is a new adventure, which is not hard to do. And that way they're excited to go continue the story with, you know, Harlow and them. So.
Awesome.
Thank you.
I just love the evolution of Luna VR and how you've managed to progress since we last spoke. And it sounds like you've been dealing with a lot of personal hardships also, and managing to kind of work your way through that. So just the resilience and perseverance, and I get to feel the joy that you have in what you do, and your why. And as you said, we're just seeing the smile on a young person's face rather than the tears and the fright must keep you going. It really must.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, I love it. So
Absolutely. So before I have a conversation with Paul here, I did want to mention, because you talked about Dan Berger, who heads up the VRAR Association of Vancouver here. I've been back and forth with Dan, and we're looking at a couple of months' time, and maybe in the new year, but part of our CAN Startup Stories speaker events, just like we're doing celebrating clean tech entrepreneurs on October 21st, we are looking, I've been thinking about this one for a while, having the theme being celebrating VR AR entrepreneurs. So Naomi, perhaps when we have that virtually, you'll be able to come back and tell your story in a slightly different way than you did when we had you on as part of celebrating women entrepreneurs. I'd be honored if you were able to squeeze us in for that.
that'd be great. I'd love it. And Dan's my mentor, so anything you need, I can be pushy.
Amazing, amazing. Maybe we'll get Dan on as being the MC for that. So that will kick that can down the road for a little while longer. But let's bring it back to the here and now. And the here and the now is myself and Paul Koros. And Paul, as I mentioned, is the board chair for Vancouver Entrepreneurs Forum. And they have been around for many, many years. The previous iteration, as Paul mentioned, of course, was Vancouver Enterprise Forum. So, Paul, first of all, I want to say welcome to the show. Thanks for taking some time out of your busy schedule to join us here. And to get us started here, Paul, perhaps you could tell people, because I'll be honest, even though I've been involved in the entrepreneurship community for a couple of years, I didn't quite know what the heck it is that VEF does and why you do it. So why don't you actually start first by giving us a little bit of kind of an overview and a history and all the good things that you do within our innovation ecosystem.
Well, thanks, Colin. It's a thrill to join you, and thank you for the invitation. Actually, VEF is very simple. Eight events a year. That's what we've done for forever, and it's we put those events on to basically what I like to say is it's nurturing conversations, because any gap in the ecosystem that needs to get filled happens in a conversation. Hey, this is missing. Maybe we need to do this, just like you did right now. Hey, maybe we're going to do a VR AR event, and hey, maybe you can join. And yeah, wouldn't that be cool? And and then it's this building up in a conversation. So we have these 8 events, and they are both. They are in general a panelist. Sometimes there's a special guest speaker. It's meant to spark conversation, and it tends to be on issues of understanding where technology innovation is headed, and the challenges in getting that technology commercialized. So it tends to attract people who are not usually on their first entrepreneurial venture. So we heard just a moment ago from Naomi, a very inspiring story, but clearly, I'm an RN, I saw this problem, I'm fixing this problem. And so, after Naomi sort of solves the problem, builds a company, makes a bunch of money, then she's like, okay, well, that was really fun. And there's a lot of people I want to do the next thing, but there'll be a question that will arise. How do I participate? How do I get involved? And so this is the place to go where you can then take the next step. So we do 8 events a year. They're on topics that basically our board says are of interest. And then we try to have excellent networking events. So
love it.
And then history, yeah. And then history. Should I go into that one? It was 1988 actually was when we started, and this was the place where you went to Google technology commercialization when you couldn't Google anything. If you were in Vancouver in 1988, you were in forestry or mining, or you weren't even in real estate at that time because it rained here too much. People weren't investing in real estate. So if you were interested in technology in 1988 or the early 90s, it was a rare breed, and you couldn't Google, so you had to go a place and talk to people and exchange, things written on dead trees to get information. And so actually out of the a lot of the pillars of our ecosystem were created. So there were conversations that happened there. So for example, one of the problems was access to capital. So in the 1990s, a guy, some of you might know by the name of Mike Volker, started chatting with a bunch of people and saying, hey, we got to get people together who want to invest in companies. And so they launched a little group called Vantech. It started in 1988 or 1999 rather. And that's been going for 21 years. Angel investment, I think they've totaled up close to $10 million worth of investment into startup companies. Just happened like that out of a conversation at VEF. Another classic one, real pillar in Vancouver, of course, is the New Ventures BC competition, and that started from a guy by the name of Wals van Leerup, who said, well, over in Netherlands they have these competitions, and we should do that here in Vancouver. And people were like, oh, that sounds like let's get together and put that together, and that's what happened. And again, real pillar in the can you imagine Vancouver technology without the New Ventures BC competition? Fabulous contribution. People learn a ton there. And so my question today is, what are the things we need to do today? What are the conversations we need to have today that are in 2030 and 2040? What are those pillars in the ecosystem that we need to put in place? So, and we try to do all of that, believe it or not, with 8 events a year.
Yeah, well, I love the fact you talk about the power of conversation and those cultural collisions back in the day, and hopefully we get back there soon, where we could get together. And that's one of the reasons that I love doing our monthly event, which is called Van Startup Drinks. And Reza, you and I spent quite a bit of time at that part of your 100 events in 100 days. So you know about the power of conversation. And the same as we touched on with Naomi, it's the fact you just meet people and you think these things are planned out, this high vision. And as you talked about, Paul, sometimes it's just meeting someone unlike yourself that comes from a different space, and you just combine ideas, and then it sparks a flame, and then you just try it and say, why not? And it's very interesting. I did not know the backstory there with Vantech Angels, of course, with Felzel and the group over there and all the good things that they're doing now. I did not realize that it started out as something as innocuous or even as humble as that. It's like, why don't we do this? Or New Ventures BC, after, what was it, the 20th year or 25th year they celebrated this year? I think it was number 20 with the competition, that they're doing this over here. Why don't we do it too?
20, yeah.
Yeah, and I know, Paul, that is part of you giving back in entrepreneurship. You've been a mentor a couple of years back with New Ventures BC, so you just keep giving back, and we're very, very thankful for all the good work that you do. So I do want to bring this up to, well, even a couple of months ago when we had that inflection point with this little thing in March called COVID hit, because I did have the pleasure of going to a couple of your events previously, and I always love the fact that you had the ability and the influence with VEF and the reputation that you're able to bring in international speakers, whether it's from Silicon Valley or all over the world. So really, you had a global reach and still do. But how have you managed to change that? Or what did you do in the first couple of months to reimagine yourself to say, we now have to create our 8 events a year virtually, and where is the value that we can add? So I'm sure you approached it like any other startup or business. It's like, well, how do we add value for all of the people that we connect with? So what was that process for the first couple of months with VEF?
Well, I think the first thing one of the things was it got a lot easier to have guests from far away, because we didn't have to think about how to cover their airfare. So like you said, we could bring people from further away. But yeah, that beginning period there in March when, the pandemic was started, we, of course, everybody was freaking out, buying toilet paper and everything. So it was a very strange time. To figure out what to do. And so, and because we hold in-person events, I mean, the decision was pretty much made for us, that, we wouldn't hold, we couldn't hold an in-person event. And so that the planning for that got canceled. And then we, looked at the mission and the vision and said, okay, how do we do this, without meeting in person? And so we began, like everybody, experimenting with technologies, bringing people in from further up, and their camera didn't even work, right? So that was it, so for the whole hour and a half event, everybody was looking at the moderator going, what about this? and then hearing this disembodied voice. So that was unfortunate. The other technology that we've used, and I think maybe some people have heard, is this and I forget the name, but there's a specific, like a breakout room technology that Zoom has, where the moderator can, from, you know, pretty much just sort of hit a button, and you take 100 people and they go into you know, rooms of 6. And that's been, and then you're all of a sudden, okay, well, I'll turn on my camera, I'll talk to these. If it's 6 people, I'll talk to them. If it's 100 people on the screen, I can't see everybody, I'll just, you know, sit in the background and listen. So that's interesting. And my experience has been just chatting with those people. It's fascinating what people are up to, and that's just part of what I you know, what I love about networking and meeting people. And so we've been doing that as well at VF. And then I think we've been completely now energized to continue to fulfill our event. I think because our costs went down, because we're not renting event space and having refreshments and whatnot, the costs went down. So we actually have a ticket price now that is 0. And we're just saying it, look, if you know, we're here to serve the ecosystem. We've got wonderful sponsors who continue to support us. And so you know, if, you know, we requesting you pay the virtual price of, if you're a startup founder, $10, or you're a, you know, an ecosystem member, $25. But if you're in a position where you want to sort of rely on your you know, the sponsorship, you know, come in at 10 for free, and you can do that. So you know, we're here to serve the ecosystem, and so, you know, we'll take money from whoever, you know, has the ability to pay, but you know, we're trying to serve the ecosystem as best we can.
Nice. And I had the pleasure of being at one of your events, your virtual events, about a week and a bit ago. And with the breakout rooms, the way you organize that, it was really, really impactful, and having real conversations with people. I found that was great. So with that, I heard this quote the other day, that the paranoid person survives, but the optimistic person thrives. So using that as a segue, what optimistic platforms or themes are you putting out there for your next couple of events, or even the next one? Perhaps you can touch on that, so our viewers will know, and we'll put this in both on social media and also in chat here with the links of this. So tell us the optimistic things you're doing for entrepreneurs with your next event.
Thank you. Well, that one actually deals. We sort of did. The last one was on finance. How to finance in the time of COVID. What are the conversations happening? Because I think people needed some of that current information, and there was a gap we thought to fulfill. The other one is I think a big question people are facing, which is, well, geez, if we're not meeting face to face, you're not going into the office. You know, you can't buy birthday cakes for people or whatever it is. You know, there's no foosball table. You know, those are old examples, obviously. But how do you have culture in the workplace? How do you make people feel like they belong, as opposed to just this sort of disembodied conversation on some work matter, you know, two or 3 times a week? You know, there's no water cooler talk. And so that's the spent. It's workplace culture, and then I think where a lot of people are realizing. I mean, I was talking to one guy who rents properties, and he was joking. He says, yeah, you know, people who have an office, they're like, yeah, I obviously don't need to go into the office anymore as much. So maybe, you know, I'll go in like half time. But my gosh, nobody else can use my desk. I mean, it's just got to sit there empty while I'm waiting. And so from a real estate, you know, commercial rental place, it's like, yeah, no, you know, if you want to pay for how do you balance that out? Because people are going to be going into workplace less. How much less is better? Because some people like being at home and can get more work done. So that's part of the conversation next week, next Tuesday, October the 20th, 3:30. If you want to join, we can join then. And then, you know, I love the quote that you provided, because it's like, yeah, how do you be optimistic about what's next? And so our topic next month is actually a follow-on from one of our most popular events last year, actually November of last year, on machine learning and artificial intelligence, and also quantum computing. We've got, of course, D-Wave here in town, Vancouver is a world leader in member at VF, and help us tap into that. And just the stunning scale of the amount of computations that can be done through that technology, and how that affects the very rapid evolution on machine learning and artificial intelligence is fascinating, and has implications in every type of commercial endeavor. We will all be touched in all of our transactions in how artificial intelligence and machine learning will progress over the next decade. And so that's the subject for November.
Love it, love it. And as we always do, we'll include that through our social media accounts. We will promote all the great things and the events that VEF has coming up. We just started to get to know each other between start of Vancouver and VEF for the last month or so. So we've got on a couple of dates now, just getting to know each other a little bit. But this is what I said at the top of the show there. We're here to collaborate, not to compete. And I know you feel the exact same way. So I'm really excited, Paul, to have some follow-up conversations and to explore where we can make the, what's the term? We'll make the parts greater than the sum. I totally mangled that, but you know what I mean.
I got it. So, yeah.
So we are at the top of the hour here. Before we do go, and I actually do my little party trick here, I just wanted to open it up to my other two hosts here, and also to so I want to make it interactive here, also to Naomi and also Kim, if you had any questions for Colin here. Yeah,
Colin, I don't think you're doing a party trick. You're doing your shout out. Check your email.
I saw that from a certain someone. You know what? I'll tell you what. Why don't we just do that? And you know what? I'm getting a little bit adventurous here. I'm gonna do both at once.
Go for it.
Okay. So yes, during the show, we actually did get a donation. So I'm gonna do a little musical shout out for that, but also I'm going to do, I think, Reza, maybe Maryam, you've seen the other thing that I do when I donate, and that is my party trick back to my university days, and how I never had to pay for a single beer at the pub, is I would take my stack of quarters, I've got 20 of them here, and I put them on my elbow and catch them with the same hand. So every single one of these that I catch, I will donate $1 to jack.org. And at the same time, I'm going to sing my song. So this should be either amazing or an absolute disaster. So here, it's part of the entrepreneurial experience. So I got to take my headphones off.
This is a segment where we highlight it and put it on Instagram or something.
You know what? Maybe I should balance on one foot on like a Bosu ball while I do that. No, that's too much. Okay, here we go.
I'm nervous. I'm nervous.
All right. Here
Kids, don't do this at home.
All right. Nice donation by you. Jack.org says, thank you. You are awesome. Paul Koros. Nice donation by you.
Oh, you got them all?
Bam! 20.
All right.
Nailed it.
All right. Good for you.
There we go. I'm donating. Paul's donating. Jack.org says thank you. And on that, well, that was a bit of an adrenaline rush. I thought I was going to catch like 0, but I did it. So, I'm going to take a nap after that. But before we do, Reza, why don't you end the show for us here today?
Actually, before we do, there's one more question. Brenda, she's a retired lawyer and now a solopreneur, not in the tech space. And this question is for Paul. She's asking if she needs to be in tech to attend your events.
Oh God, no.
Yeah.
No. Anytime, anybody. Yeah. We attract people from all over, and so there's no absolutely zero requirement. And for what I mean, maybe it sounds like it's very technology heavy. It's not. There's tech involved, but we well understand that much of the audience, it just is not technically doesn't have a technical background. It's a business conversation.
Yeah. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks for jumping in, Maryam, and doing that. Okay, that's great. Reza, my friend.
Thanks everyone for joining us. Every Tuesday at noon, we have this show called, if you haven't heard of it by now, it's called What Keeps You Up at Night, Entrepreneurial Edition with Startup Vancouver. I'm your co-host, Reza V. Maryam Mobini, and our community leader, Colin Weston. Join us next week.
Good
Bye,
stuff.
everyone.
Thanks so much, everyone.
Thank
Have a great
you.
week.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye for now.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.